Good morning, IGDC. I hope it's been a great session so far on day 2. We're here, and yeah, let's have a great time today also. So, we're going to be talking about Battle Stars and how we drove its overall evolution with our community. So, let's give me a brief understanding of what Battle Stars is. Battle Stars is a 2D casual shooter. Our intention with Battle Stars was to make a casual shooter experience for players to get anytime and easily to play with it. We made it very easy to understand, quick to play, and get some really fun experiences. But that wasn't the beginning of it. We worked with our community to collaborate, improve, brainstorm, and build a great game together. And that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to understand how an evolution of a game can be possible based on feedback, iterations, working with the community. How to build a stronger identity for your game, working with the community, but also understanding what the game requires. This allows us to build a stronger, robust game with the community, for the community. But who are we? As I already introduced, I'm Satyam Pandey. I'm an associate game director at Super Gaming. Super Gaming is a studio resided at Pune. We're a 140 plus member team with a passion to create great games for the world, and especially India. And we got 10 plus years experience in real-time multiplayer. One of the games that we played with multiplayer was Silly Royale. As Battlestars started to get built, its inception actually started from Silly Royale. So let me give a brief introduction of how Battlestars began. During the pandemic, it was actually very difficult for players to connect with each other. We all had to be in isolated places, and the human connection was missing. That's where Inner Sloth brought Among Us and made social deduction a viral phenomenon. It allowed players to talk to each other, connect, and have a lot of fun interactions to bring that human connection. The issues were, it was very difficult to get that set up. What we wanted to do with Silly Royale is bring the fun into the game alongside some vibrant, cute characters and make it very seamless to just talk to each other. Voice chat was integrated seamlessly inside our game. So all players had to do was download the game and they could play and hang out with each other. As we grew up, the players who are now might have not played a lot of the childhood games we grew up and started to play with. And something we wanted to bring in Silly Royale was those childhood game experiences. Hide and seek, which we call Luka Chupi, I think some of us might have played as a kid. Passing the parcel during birthday parties, or even lock and key. These were really fun game experiences which we wanted to bring for the newer generation and give them the opportunity to actually play these. And that's where we evolved Silly Royale to be a place for players to come, hang out, and have a great experience. Hide and seek was something which went really great for our game and became a global phenomenon. It was so great that eventually Inner Sloth, when they had Among Us, they put that mode into their game later on. So that gives us a lot of validation of building a game with our community to build something really fun and great. There were more modes that we had actually tried, like the lock and key. We called it jailbreak, where players could kind of hang around, be prisoners, and kind of chase cops and be running from cops. We also tried fun games just by the core identity of the mini games we find in such of these, and created experiences like passing the parcel in our game mode called as Devil's Playground. These games did perform well, but they weren't as to the level that we were expecting them to be. So there's a lot of lessons learned by us to build these experiences. This is where we felt that there's a market or a potential missing for 2D shooters. I remember during my college time, a lot of us, while we were paying attention to the lecture, used to play Mini Militia under the table. And those are memories we cherish even now. We felt there was a potential to create something around that genre. And that's where we created a mode for Silly Royale called Silly Wars. It was pretty silly and fun, actually, to play. And our whole idea was to make a 2D casual shooter, but make it very easy to access, fun to play, and still have a short, casual experience with it. Now, we didn't want players to get lost for a 20-minute game time for just playing this. Anytime they have even like 2 minutes or 3 minutes, they can have a fun experience and move on. But what we saw was actually very shocking. Players really loved this experience. We had almost an average time of 40 minutes, 45 minutes plus for playing Silly Wars. And we felt there's some actual potential here. And we talked to our players. We wanted to understand what they actually enjoyed in the game experience. And that brought us back to the whole experience of just having a fun, quick 2D casual shooter is something we all want. There are games which actually started as an event or a mod and became something so much more greater. Two major examples are Counter-Strike and Dota, or Dota 2. These weren't games made from the ground up. They were just passionate players who really enjoyed the core experience and wanted that in multiplayer. And now they are such big identities that games, everyone knows them all around the world. Our intention with Silly Wars as an event was to create something just like that. Start it as an event, learn with the community, and based on the community's reception of it, make it something so much more bigger. And that brings us to Battle Stars. The first thing we had to do was validate our art style, because when we went from Silly to Battle Stars, our audience had actually grown up. Initially, Silly was a lot more childlike, a lot more cute and fun, pretty silly, but it worked really well for the game experience we had. By the time we reached Battle Stars, even our community grew. They had more mature experiences and they wanted something better to fit with the gameplay experience. And that's why we upgraded our art style through the lifespan of the game to make it a lot more vibrant, a lot more personalized, and a lot more fun. Through the lifespan of the game, you're able to understand that how do you actually get feedback from your players, and what is the methodology for actually getting this from the players and implementing it in your game. We're going to do some of these formats we actually learned and got into our game through it. The first way you're going to get is the one-way feedback. And this is the most amount of feedback you're going to get in a game. No matter what, whenever you publish your game, you're going to get a lot of feedback. And you should be actually really happy about that, because players care for it. On a show of hands, have any of you gone to the Play Store for a game you've downloaded and given a review? Anyone? Right. Imagine the number of players who do that, because they have a very strong emotional connection to your game, and they want to get that message to you. The problem with one-way feedback normally is it's one way. They normally can't sometimes listen back to you. But it's important for you to filter this feedback, understand why they might be saying for it, empathize with the players to see what state they might have been to give such kind of feedback, and overall, improve and implement that in your game. This is the first way we started getting feedback, and we're like, how can we actually do better? That's where you come to a two-way feedback. This is where you actually have conversations with your players, understand what their dilemmas might be, and solve it together. One good way of actually doing this is having maybe a dedicated Discord server or a community channel. This is where you can have forums for actually allowing your community to give you suggestions of features they like, heroes they might suggest which can come in your game, or even whole new content maps. Players are always passionate for your game, and they want to have a place or a platform where they can give you all of this feedback. So it's very important for you to empower your players to give a place for that feedback. There's a lot of issues normally in games, because making games is not easy, it's difficult, and you always want to keep improving it, solving those issues and bugs. But you have to have a place to know what are the issues players are facing it live, and that's where a support forum helps you understand what the major issues. The best part about it is these players are not alone. It's a community. Other players are going to come together, help in solving each other's issues, and that makes it a lot more seamless to build something a lot more stronger and robust. The other way is talking to your players, hosting AMA sessions, Q&A sessions, where you interact with your players, talk with them, and have some fun, because that's what it's all about. We had some really interesting AMA sessions where we talked to our players. We actually played our game with them, and it's actually really fun to see how connected players with it and the feedback they give. This way, you're able to understand the reason for players' feedback and how you can actually improve on it. But the most engaged players, you'll always meet them. So for us, when we started getting Battle Stars out in its initial concept, we actually went to Bangalore Comic Con just to make players play it and see what they feel. It was really fun to see how the target audience grasped it very quickly. They put their hands on the controller and they knew exactly what to do. There were also some moments where kids went to ask their mom, can I install this game? And that was actually a fun validation for us that this game has some really fun potential. But the most engaged players will be the ones who will come to talk to you, meet you in real life. And that's where you actually understand players' body language of what they want to do, how they play the game, and how they actually understand your game from the get-go. That was all the methodology we followed to make our game reach this potential. We're really glad and thank our community to help us get 4.5 stars right now on Google Play rating, 5 million downloads, alongside a strong community on YouTube with 100K. And we interact with these guys on a daily basis. because that's how you keep the game running, live, and you have a fun experience. But our overall goal for all of this was we wanted to make something which is a very great genre, battle royals, but make it a lot more casual. Supercell, which is a company we really excited and look up to, made Brawl Stars to be MOBA into casual experiences. Similarly, we wanted to take heroes with unique weapons and get that into a battle royale made into a casual experience. That was our goal. And to reach that actual goal, we went through a journey. Let's go through what that journey actually was. When we released our game, we started with a 4v4 team deathmatch. To give you a gist, team deathmatch is where two teams fight it out until one of them gets the score requirement or the time is over. The best part about this was the game was easy to play, quick to access, and fun to just get into the action. Players didn't have to worry about finding loot, figuring out where to go. All they had to do was shoot, avoid, and win. That made the gameplay experience very seamless and fun. But there were a lot of issues we had to address during this time. One of the major issues we saw was our map was initially a lot more dull and not as fun or appealing to play. We call this map Badlands. And on hindsight, I can see why we might have called it Badlands. And the main issues we had with this map were that it had a dull, flat palette. There were a lot more empty spaces so that players could get used to the shooting mechanics, but that also led to the just map feeling a lot more unappealing to play at. Even at the first iteration, our characters were a lot more generic. We recently just started shifting from our old art style to the new art style. So it didn't make the game feel as appealing as we wanted to be in the initial get-go, but because the gameplay was so much fun, players still loved it. But they were always very constructive of the feedback they wanted to give in. This is where we found our major issue. We didn't have a very strong identity. We were called a copy of Brawl Stars at that point, and we're like, we need something stronger. Making games in India is, it's not that easy, but we want to make something true to us, what we represent, what we build, and what we relate to. And that's what we thought about our players. What do our players actually relate to? Places they live, places they go to, characters they might see in a real life, characters they meet to. That is something players connect with a lot more stronger. When you bring something for players they can relate to, they have a lot stronger emotional connection to them, and they care a lot more about your game. So these were the next set of characters we bring into our game, alongside a brand new map. So Mumbai was the next theme for our game, alongside three new characters and the Mumbai map. And these characters just weren't made based on Mumbai. They were inspired from people in our studio. I actually know the character who's the cop is called Patil. So we have someone who works so hard and dedicated for our studio every day. So he always called the Patil of our studio. And Veer, with his suave personality, is someone I work on a daily basis. And we're able to show that representation of these characters into our game. And when players see these characters, they feel the same way, that these are characters you might not see in other games. And they find that a lot more appealing. The first map after that we got was Amchi Mumbai map. I'm actually from Mumbai, so I'm like, we got to do this map right at least. So I went back home, explored the city in a Kalipili taxi, and just wanted to see what's all about. We wanted to bring the essence of Mumbai into our game. Sure, we can't have the scale of the actual city in our game, but the soul of it has to be there. So what we did is we brought some iconic locations like Sea Link, Juhu Beach, but also the cultural inspiration of what makes Mumbai now. The past has to be represented well, and so has to be the future of what the city now is. And this brought a fun, vibrant palette for the map compared to what we had before. Players loved it. Not just that, we wanted to change the game mode. As he said, our goal was to make Battle Royale into a casual experience. So players can still have that fun excitement that they feel in the big ones, even if there's a quick, simple experience here. So when we brought in Mumbai, we brought in Mumbai Battle Royale. And players actually enjoyed it a lot. The simplicity of the game also brought in a lot more layers. Players had to pick up multiple power-ups which are now available in the map, stack them up, and be the last one surviving. We wanted to do some interesting versions with the storm because it rains a lot in Mumbai. So we were initially thinking, why not just make the rain come as the storm? And that's what makes the fun come from the game, by building things you connect with. And that brings a lot more vibrant features into your game. We brought in 3 characters into our game. One of them, as mentioned, is Veer. Veer is the iconic Mumbai boy you can find all around the city. He loves to help everyone, he loves music, and he just plays it wherever he goes. Not just that, these characters had a lot more interesting mechanics. Veer's gun was something players loved, and we loved the reception they actually gave for it. We had one more character which we wanted to bring into the game, who's feisty, fiery, and turns all of her enemies into ashes. That's Divya. We call her the Marathi Mulgi. And players love just seeing these characters. They might not see in that many games and being able to play with them. So Veer and Divya were the new two characters we brought in the game alongside the Vigilant Patil in Mumbai Battle Royale. Now we're getting closer to what we want to be, building that identity. We kept going with this and we wanted to build more into our things. Something really great happened during this time. Apple was launching their first store in India, in Delhi and Mumbai. And we had the opportunity to showcase our game at the store. Not a lot of gaming studios have ever actually showcased their game on the Apple Store. So this felt like a really great opportunity. And we wanted to do it right. Not just that, just showcasing our game. We wanted to use this opportunity to collaborate with the community who's coming there. Because these are Mumbaikars. So why not talk to them, showcase what we're building, and ask them for what they think about it. A lot of people came here. It was a really great event. And we gave this an opportunity for the community to decide certain things about our game. So the map name you saw, that was the community's answer. We gave them multiple options of what should we call this map. And everyone said, this is our Mumbai, this is my Mumbai, this is Amchi Mumbai. And that's how the map's name came from, the community. We also showcased them all these three characters that were there. And we asked them, which is the first character you want to see in the game. The community decided that all of them are great, but Divya stands out. And that's why Divya was the first character we brought into our game based on the community's answer. This is where we actually talked to them also a lot, and we wanted to understand what kind of heroes do they actually like and relate to. We started with generic heroes, and we built on to local heroes we inspire by. What was the next step? We felt we wanted to make a hero that our players look up to. They can now understand and relate with these heroes, but who do players look up to? At this generation, players look up to content creators, the type of creators they want to become. And we felt that was the next set of evolution or progression for our game and characters. So someone called as Techno Gamers was finally here. And what we want to do is make him visit our studio, show him what we're building on Battlestars, and possibly bring him in our game. Ujjwal, Techno Gamers, is one of India's biggest gaming YouTubers. He's garnered over 35 million plus subscribers. And he understands the community. We felt that Techno's grasp and understanding of how to build a strong community resonated with our game. And that's what we wanted to build. Something to relate with, something to connect with, and something that brings players together. And that's why even I'm wearing a Techno Gamers t-shirt here. But just bringing a character in the game is not suffice. Like, you have to bring his personality. You have to bring what the essence of Techno is into our game. And it was really great that when you bring him into our game, we did a really live action shoot. And Techno loved it, being able to wear almost like a hero costume to showcase his character in the game. His 2D persona into our game was in the new style. By this time, our old style had been already transformed into the new Battlestar style. The game felt so much more fun, so much more vibrant, and these characters had so much more personality. When Techno came into our game, his community was amazing. They had so much love for the game and the characters which are there in it, and especially for Techno. And bringing both of these together was amazing and a big explosion. Because when we finally got Techno in our game, we were ready. We're like, there's a big community. Let's keep our servers at least 10x ready for what amount of players we're expecting. That was not enough. The amount of players which came on the first day when we got this content creator was mind-shattering. We almost got 500,000 downloads just on the first day when Techno came into our game. Now, the reason for this is it's very important to definitely showcase your game really well. Now, if we didn't show Techno in the real-life costume, we didn't showcase his character, how it looks in the game, and the gameplay of him, it wouldn't have been that strong. Which is why players need that relation, and it has to be done from the heart and done really well. When you bring a character really well into your game, players can see that, and then they really enjoy the experience for it. While I was coming to the session, someone actually asked me about the t-shirt, and sir, do you know Ujjwal? I'm like, that's really great to just see for it. When we finally got Techno Gamers in the game, we also wanted to give him some really interesting mechanics to kind of suit for his persona and playstyle. The weapons he got were futuristic with the word Techno, and his plasma rifle dominated the battlefield for a long time. We got a lot of feedback during this release of what the game is, because the player base significantly increased. And so many players playing your game gives you a lot of feedback. We wanted to listen to it all, understand what they're talking about the game, and how we, as a community and the studio, can build it better. Players gave so many comments, so much of reception, so much of love, and so much of criticism at the same time. And I feel this balance is very important when you're building a game. A game can never be perfect, but can keep improving it to get better and better. So listen to the love, listen to what they're saying good about it, but definitely listen to the criticisms of how you can improve your game. That's how you make your game better and better, and know that we are listening, and the players can understand that. We also had a Techno Quest, which launched during this time. The Techno Quest was an opportunity for players to get the character, compete in missions, and rank up in the top of the leaderboard. So what we had done is, we wanted to do something really big with Techno's character and host a very big event. So we brought in that the top 100 players in the Techno leaderboard for a month after that had the opportunity to come for the Techno Fest. The Techno Fest was our first community fest alongside Techno. This is where players could come meet with us, meet Techno, talk about our game, and have some really fun tournaments. And that's what we saw. One of our top players who was on the leaderboard, P Brothers, I know him myself personally, and he's a really great guy. He played our game 16 hours daily during this time. So that shows the dedication players have to play the game, to the content creators they look over, and how both of these can conjoin together. P Brothers loves the game. He always gives us a lot of constructive feedback, and that's why you should always listen to your top players. When we came to the tournament, it was a really great experience. Everyone was really excited. Everyone was really excited for the game. Everyone was really excited to meet Techno and just hang out and talk to each other. Players normally don't meet each other. They normally talk on voice chat, or they just message each other. But when you bring players together, it creates a really great experience because they understand how they come from. They're from different backgrounds altogether, and that strengthens your community on an overall value. A lot of these guys are friends now, and they play together on a daily basis. So that just shows how important it is to bring your players together. The Techno event was really fun. We brought all of these guys together. We actually hosted a tournament. The idea of the tournament was we wanted to do the Mumbai Battle Royale, which we had recently launched during this time, and see who wins. We all know who was a high contender. P Brothers was everyone expecting him to win. But that's where the underdog rose and just dominated the battlefield. And when you see such kind of experiences, it just shows the reason you're making games, the players. And we saw Aman, who actually won this tournament, shocked all of us by defeating P Brothers and the other players, and made such a great experience for the overall Techno event. The best part of this is, like I said, the third format of feedback is we got to meet our players. They've been playing our game religiously for the past month, and they had a lot of feedback of how we could improve on it. All we wanted to do was listen to them. That's all. So we talked to all of our players. We collected all the feedback we got. We tried to understand what they interpret of our game and how we can improve it. As devs, you're making the game. You might understand how it works, what it can do. But when it comes in the hands of the players, they can play it in ways you never expected. And that's the beauty of players, and because they play the game so much that they understand every nook and cranny of it. And our conversations with the players made us understand that our identity is a lot more stronger. They're enjoying the characters we're bringing in and what we're bringing through that. But they wanted to see more. They wanted more depth in the game. They wanted some more interesting content they can relate with. They wanted the content to also be a lot more true to life. And Techno actually lives in Delhi. So we were asking them, what would you want the next map to be? And everyone was like, let's go to Delhi now. And that's what actually we did. We went to Delhi. The main idea of going to Delhi is making a more robust, fun, big map for players to experience together. We call this movement inside our studio as the Chalo Delhi event. Chalo Delhi. So what we wanted to do here is bring the soul and life of Delhi into a fun, playable experience with players to enjoy with squads. When we launched Mumbai Battle Royale, it was a solo BR. You would only be playing against all the opponents as one player. The first game mode we have was Team Deathmatch. There you were playing as a squad. So we saw there was a rift between both of these game modes. Players enjoyed to play together, but also missed that experience in the BR. So we felt, why not merge them both? So with the Chalo Delhi event, our main goal was to bring squads into Battle Royale. Make the map a lot more larger to support the number of players we want that to be, and make the map a lot more improved even from Mumbai. To evolve our game slowly to be something that we feel a lot more experienced, fun, and the players enjoy it. The first thing we did is we went to Delhi. So we actually had a flag for Battlestar's Chalo Delhi event, and we went around all the different locations around Delhi. It was generally a fun experience because that brings the authenticity of what you're building. Players will always be able to see what you're building and where that comes from. And we wanted to make it true to what it is. So we went around Delhi, we went to iconic locations like India Gate, Connaught Place, Red Fort, even Qutub Minar, and it was really fun to see how beautiful the city is. Not just that, meeting the people which make the city. That's where the soul comes from. But what is actually interesting as a small anecdote was we took this flag near the parliament and the cops started asking, what are you doing? And we got a bit scared. We showed them Patil as a game character into our game and just told them we're just showing it for a game. And it was all cool. But it's just fun to see exploring the city, making something authentic is very important for when you're building a game. So these are some of the iconic locations we eventually built into our maps. This is Red Fort and Connaught Place. One thing which is very important for a battle royale is you should know where you are. You never want your players to get lost if everything looks very similar, which is why we felt it was very important to distinguish all of our key locations. So if you are in CP or Connaught Place, you know that. If you're on Red Fort, you clearly know that just by the architecture, the colors we've used, and the overall design layout. It also allowed us to improve on our map level design to make it more covers, more interesting locations where you can have fun gunfights, alongside improving the overall power-up system. The power-up system we had throughout the game was the player can go and pick up one power-up and use it for a certain amount of time. When we came to our Delhi BR, we wanted to improve on that. So we finally brought in crates. Players were able to open crates and get multiple sets of power-ups they could use. The depth of the game significantly increased. Players were playing some really high-level games, and we ourselves were shocked to see that. And that brings players' communication and working together. Squad brings players together, and that leads to a lot more fun experiences, players playing for longer time. These are only the first two locations we got, but there was one more location together with them, which was India Gate. India Gate was the center of what we wanted to build Delhi with, because we felt it's not been done in a lot of games, and we felt this was a very good opportunity to bring something like that into our game. Players love it when they see something familiar, something they can connect with inside the game, and just love to explore. Sometimes you're not just even even fighting, you're just moving around, exploring the city, the map that has been built. And we wanted to give a tidbit to Techno, so the bottom right here was Ujjwal's house. So all of Techno's fans loved and used to just hang out there. We're like, Techno, we're just beside your house. So that brings a personality and flavor into the game that is there. But we didn't want to leave these maps to be static, like you've created once and just let it go. India is a celebration of festivities, people, and all that comprises within it. So recently, we're launching the Delhi Diwali map, which is taking the whole map and making it a night decorated with vibrant visual lights. Players will love when they come around this location and celebrate Diwali for what it is. We're actually bringing grenades during this update also, and we didn't want to just put grenades during the Diwali, so we have made them into Sutli bombs, so players can actually celebrate Diwali in our game without causing pollution. And making it a lot more vibrant, fun for players to actually access gives them a lot more stronger emotional connection. That's something we've been seeing as we've been improving and evolving our game. We started at Badlands, we went to Amchi, Mumbai, and now we're at Chalo, Delhi. The number of players actually increased significantly so that we can support the larger sizes of the map, so that players can have a larger experience of what Battle Royale is, but made casual. So players have a significant time for playing the map, but it's not as long as how generic Battle Royales take. And actually, players enjoyed this experience, because when you're playing in a 2D shooter, the level of complexity is simple, but it's still very high skill level. So the games we've been seeing as we've been progressing and improving our maps have also significantly improved. And that's what you aim to do as we keep moving further. We had the Techno event, and it was a really great experience to see how players understand the game. But there's one more middle ground which we actually accessed yet, the creators. Creators are the pulse of a community. Everyone interacts with the creators. That is the videos they watch. No matter how you portray your game, players will watch creators to see how their game is portrayed to them. So it's very important to connect with your creators, building a strong creator community, because that's where the game is actually showcased truly. So while we were launching the Delhi map, we felt this is a great time to bring creators to our studio, where we make battle stars, and show them what it's all about. Show them how we make the game, get some insights from them, and have a good celebration together. So this is where we had the Chalo Delhi event. And that actually is P Brothers who's actually come here to showcase Chalo Delhi and just show them what we're building here. This is where we again hosted a tournament for Delhi Squad Royal to see how the creators perceive the game. Players a lot more dedicated, emotional. They'll try to be very high skilled. Creators are more important about how you portray the game, how can you make interesting content, and how can that reach to a wider audience. So there are different metrics and understandings you have to do for creating the game for the players and how you can accommodate that for creators. We actually had a very good insight and conversations from these creators to understand what they really liked in it, the overall identity, and how we could actually improve on it. They gave a lot of feedback of that it's nice to see something from India which is inspired from the locations we live around. And that makes the relatability, emotional connection a lot more stronger. That validation is important when you're building something like this, but you want to do it true, you want to do it right. The best part is we got some really fun feedback of characters that would come within our game. Players enjoyed the experience and they can visualize what else can come in the game which fits really right well. So this recommendation of building a character who can shoot flowers as bullets, we loved it. And that's a character we've put into our pipeline to keep building in the coming months so that it makes something really fun for it. Creators just are not going to be there for this one-off event. We felt this is a longer run. It's very important to have a creator community to build a long-lasting game and understand what the players need. That's why we brought the Battle Stars Creator Club. It's important to have a very strong vocal creator community. Your creators should be able to portray your game in the best manners and talk to the players to get them the insight they need. And for you, you have to work with the creators a lot more better. We felt that was very important talking to these creators. Again, I know a lot of these guys personally because it was important to understand where they come from. We had some very interesting interactions. We showcased them all the features inside a game early to get their insights, what their feedback on this is, and how we can do that better. That also leads to a lot of interesting gameplay experiences, and we also understand how people experience our game. So it's always very important to gauge your community through the creators. They are the pulse of your game and the community. These are some interesting showcases that we've done with our creators and how they've actually made content for it. Making content is not that easy, especially when there's so much of content all around the world. You want to be able to figure out and help these creators grow. So we facilitate the creators with better tools, learnings, so that they can also grow and improve their overall work process and what they're building with the community. That allows us to grow alongside our creators, and players overall get a much greater experience. And that's what it's all about. But we didn't revisit Badlands so far. So we felt a bit stale about that we got in the Mumbai map, which is so vibrant, so local, so fun. We brought in the Delhi map, which is so big and so much experience with locations you can go around. But Badlands was still Badlands. So when we came to the creator event, there was a lot of rift about Mumbai map is better, Delhi map is better, and that led to some really fun interactions. This was a good opportunity for us to revisit and improve the things we had created before. It's always important to look at your game from a top-view perspective and see what can be improved. Never just building something and letting it go. Always revisiting it, improving it, iterating it based on the feedback you receive. This is where we got the Delhi versus Mumbai map in Team Deathmatch. The best thing about Team Deathmatch for players is they definitely enjoyed Battle Royale, but TDM for them was a very quick, casual experience. You're easy into action, you have a quick experience for it, and you have a lot of fun. But we also wanted to add more layers to the gameplay. This is where we brought in grenades, and grenades added verticality to our overall experience. Players could now damage themselves, opponents in a large group, and that led to some really fun interactions. So sometimes what happened is players were trying to shoot or throw the grenade at a particular audience, and they might have hit themselves. And that led to players also having a lot more interesting interactions for what they wanted the game experience to be. That allowed us to revisit Rumble and make this map a lot more fun, nuance, and experience with the visuals that we brought in from Mumbai and Delhi. Now the game had an identity, a strong identity we connected with, our creators connected with, and so did our players. What do we learn from all of this? It's very important to take feedback from your players, filter that feedback, and get that into your game. But the first thing you have to understand is you have to have a very strong game identity. You have to emphasize on it. What is your game about? What's your game's vision? And who are the players you're making this game for? Emphasizing your game identity allows your team to connect stronger with it and the players. Like I said, a lot of us give reviews because we have an emotional connection to these games, even if it's a minor one. So it's very important to strengthen that game identity that you want to showcase. Because that way you are able to figure out what is important to bring in this game. The second important key takeaway is you have to listen to the community, but you have to balance it with the business goals as well. You're going to get a lot of feedback and sometimes everything that your game should have this. It's important to get all of that and figure out what actually works. But sometimes you won't get the feedbacks which are necessary for the game. For example, our game had a simplified progression system and we wanted to improve on it significantly. Now, community might not be asking for these depth features, but as designers, as creators, it's important for you to figure out what the game requires for the long run. And that's what you're building for. That's where you're going to have to bring features which might initially create some rift, but is for the overall community a better experience. That's where we got in some really fun skins for the players to get when they upgrade their heroes. Get some really cool weapons now for the heroes that they have. And that gives the game the depth it needs. So you definitely have to listen to your community, but sometimes you have to figure out for the longer run, what does the game require? And the community might not talk about the boring experiences, which definitely the game needs. So that's always going to be important for what you bring within the game. Another major overhaul we had done was improving on our core controls. So far, the game was always about tap, tap, auto aim. It was easy to access, but the skill limit was a bit low. Like, players could have a really fun experience using power-ups at the right time. What would have happened was, it became a bit too easy. And that was a lot of feedback we were getting from our creators, but because it was easy, the community also liked it. So what we did is, similar to Silly Wars, we experimented with this in an event. You always want to try out a new significant feature through an event or in a small target group to see how players use it. Understand how players are actually using this experience and is it better than the previous one. That gives you a lot more clearer insight before you're going to do a significant change in your game. So what we did is we overhauled our controls and made it a lot more manual. This was the game experience we were going for. The twin-stick shooter for 2D for a fun, casual experience. And initially the community was very split. As you can see, at least 58% of people really liked it, but a lot of them were they still like the old controls, the auto aim. That's where sometimes you have to make harder decisions, but for the longevity of the game, for the longer run. So it's always important for building for the longer run of this game. But finally, players might not always know the answers. That's what us as designers, developers, artists have to figure out and create and find the solutions. But players will always know the problems. That's why listen to your players, make the game for them. I would love to thank our overall community for making Battlestars where it is and how we're going to take it forward to build something really great and something really fun. And this wouldn't be possible without the team, so I would love to thank the team also with that. Thank you. We can have any more questions now.
Hey, hi everyone. So time for Q&A. We can take about a few questions before our next talk. And as is tradition on the design track, we will be putting up a QR code on the screen, and we really appreciate the feedback, especially so it can help us in the conference.
We would love that. As our talk was about community, we would love your feedback.
Okay, any questions? You can just put your hands up. We can run around with the mic.
Yeah. Hi, Satyam. Over here.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you for sharing this insight. Very nice to see what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
All the best for the next map.
Thank
the
you.
Delhi thing. One thing I want to ask you is, it's really amazing to see how you guys are growing the game. Listening to the players, understanding what they want. But what I'm going to ask you is like, so when it comes from the players, like when you listen to the players, they're going to give you a whole lot of new ideas and solutions to it. So how do you filter it as a developer and decide, okay, this is what we're going to do it? So that part I would just want to understand. Like, do you
Right.
have any kind of like a filter or a system to, understand what we can actually do?
Right. I think when you're getting a lot of feedback, it's very easy to get lost in the like in the muddle of there's so much to understand, so much to do. I think what you have to observe for is patterns. A lot of the feedback might be consistent of what a lot of players might be facing a specific issue. If you're able to segregate a lot of this feedback into patterns you're observing, so like if specifically a lot of players are saying this back button is not working really well, or the UX of it, they don't understand and they're stuck on the screen, like how do I exit this game? That means a lot of players are facing a significantly similar issue. Based on just getting all this feedback, segregating that, finding the patterns of what is observable by a set of players, you're able to find the right set of problems. Similarly, I think was something we did face in the initial get-go, that maybe the UX wasn't as clear for players. By observing videos of how players are actually playing your game, content creators playing it, feedback they're giving on our reviews, comments and all, we're able to segregate and understand what are the key issues we're seeing, and we ourselves sometimes have to play the game in the perspective of a player. And then you're able to understand whether this actually makes sense, try out possible iterations of how that could work, and see what's the best option. The best part is getting it out to your players, seeing whether the changes you've made actually made a difference or not. If you're seeing lesser of the same kind of feedback after, that means it made a difference.
Awesome.
Hello.
Any more
Yes.
Um, I recently attended the talk about Indo-futurism, which was also by Super Gaming. So now what I am really seeing here is that you have connected, involving the community in your new games as well. And it is at a design stage. So my question is that how are you involving community's feedback when you actually have not directly connected to them?
We are. So the whole point is we've got a dedicated Discord server. We have a lot of the community feedback communicating directly to us. And similarly here, we list down all the feedback we get. We make sheets with all the list of about it, and then we filter out what is actually working with the game and what is not. There has to be multiple mediums for your game to actually collect feedback. Those are the ones you mentioned here. And using that, you're able to find the right sources of problems. Community is going to give you feedback through multiple ways. Like right now, you're here in person to give us the right set of feedback. There are a lot of players who might not be able to make it in person. So they'll have to use different platforms to give the right set of feedback. For us, it's important to collect all of it, sort it out, segregate it, and then know what are the key set of issues. So the community is just not one person, it's multiple people in multiple platforms. And that actually is what makes the game. So you have to collect it from all these different sources, get it in one place, and then make the changes. And I think Indus also is a very great example for this. We've done 6 community playtests so far, and we go to different places to see the game experience from different locations and how players experience it. And that's how you're building a game with the community.